Hello and welcome to the Bears and Lions podcast. This is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past, because we could say, oh, X, Y, and Z happened to me, and we can tell ourselves a story about our past. But if we accurately look at it, it's created the exact person we are today, and it's given us the confidence to step into our present, which should give us the joy and excitement of stepping into the unknown and into our future, which is exactly what we're going to do. In today's episode, I wanted to talk to you about the law of large numbers and then also caveat it with bad days, because recently I've had a couple bad days that have impacted my mental. I really hope that you enjoy this conversation. This was a lot of me ranting and going off on certain things that are happening in my life. And this message was for me more than anybody. Hopefully you get something out of it, and I'll see you on the other side. So I want to talk to you about the law of large numbers. Now, this is a newer concept to me in learning it. However, experiencing it, I think you and I have probably experienced it more times than we would like to admit. The law of large numbers is simple. It's as the sample size grows, the mean or the average gets closer to the average of the whole, right? So we'll break it down just for you. For those who have not heard of the law of large numbers, here's an example of the law of large numbers. If you have a group of 10, and I say 10% of that group will get $100. Sweet, that's awesome. One of you out of the 10 is going to get $100. That's really cool. So only one, right? But the law of large numbers says, okay, what if 10% of 100 gets $100? That means that's $1,000, right? So that's $1,000 is going to be given away, and 10 people are going to get 100. Now we'll go even bigger. 10% of 1,000 is going to get $100, right? And when you break that down, all of a sudden you realize, whoa, okay, so same odds, different outcome. So you've got 1, you've got 10, and you've got 100 people getting $100. So there's the law of large numbers, where as you get the larger and larger and larger and larger, that amount is actually greater and greater as a whole. Now, one of the things that has impacted me, and I was listening to a podcast earlier on the way to work, and it was talking about the law of large numbers, which is why I was like, you know what? This is actually brilliant. This is something that I would love to talk about. It's something that has impacted me. And so that's exactly why I do this. Part of me digesting so much with content, with podcasts and things like that is also just learning, and then it's me sharing this learning, because you may not listen to all the podcasts I listen to, and I completely understand, although I do believe that you should. A lot of podcasts, a lot of books and things like that are going to teach you a lot of lessons, but this is my opportunity to simply say, this is what I'm learning and what I'm excited about in life and what is making sense to me. That's exactly why we're doing this podcast, right? It's not just for me to blabber on and take other stuff and try to chop it up and say, hey, I saw this Instagram clip, so therefore I want to copy this Instagram clip. No, I'm ingesting so much stuff that this is the overflow to each and every one of you. So the way I kind of look at it is, if you are betting $1, right, when the odds are 100 to 1, you're going to win. If you win, you get $101 back. But if you bet $1,000 at 100 to 1 odds, you get $101,000. Right? It's same odds, different outcome, just like we went through. And what that's really taught me is, in order to win big, you have to bet big. And most people will bet small because they're afraid to lose what they have, right? And this is how we look at our lives. This is how we look at our future. This is how we look at experiences, where we do not bet big because we have experienced X in the past. Right? We have experienced failure before. Therefore, I'm not going to put all my eggs in that one basket, because that basket is probably going to fall or crack or break or crumble. Right? So we're so afraid that we're going to lose eggs in any basket, or we're going to lose the basket, that we will say, I'm going to put one egg in the basket and then the rest of the eggs are going to be over here. Here is the problem with that. When you do that, you will eventually run out of eggs. You will get to a point in your life where you put one egg here and you get none back. So you put another egg here and you get none back. And eventually you're going to look over and you're not going to have any more eggs to put in any baskets anywhere, and you're not going to have any time to put into anything because life has surpassed your amount of time that is available. Time is one of the few things that is spent no matter what. It is the currency that you wake up depositing time into something. And a lot of people will go through life and they'll put one little egg of time into something and they'll expect a massive return. But it may be a 1-to-1 exchange or a 2-to-1 exchange, right? I put in one thing of time and I get 2 things back. Awesome. But then the next time we put the 2 things in and we lose them. We say, well, man, I'm not going to do that again. I lost that. So the process of learning this law of large numbers has really helped me determine, okay, I cannot control things to the extent that I thought I was going to be able to control. Therefore, I will control what I can control, and I'm given X amount of time throughout my day. We are given 24 hours in one day, right? 8 hours of that is going to be sleeping, getting ready for work, etc. Maybe getting home, decompressing, right? So I'm going to calculate a total of 7 hours of sleep. We'll even go 6 hours of sleep, an hour of prep to get ready and leaving, and an hour to get home and chill for a little bit just to decompress. So 8 hours of that is not revolving around work at all. But then if we go to a normal average 8-hour workday, we're putting 8 hours into something of our job, our profession, whatever that may be that pays the bills. Maybe it's a 10-hour day, okay? So we'll go 8 to 10. You've got 6 to 8 hours left to do whatever you want to do in order to get something. So that if you were to take your 8 hours and bet them, right? You were to bet them on something that was 100-to-1 odd, which means if you put in 1 hour and it wins, it could be a return of 100-to-1. But if you lose, then you just lose that 1 hour. So a lot of people will go, I'm going to put 1 hour in, and then the 7 hours or the 5 hours I have left in the day, I'm just going to chill. I'm going to watch Netflix, whatever, eat, blah, blah, blah. There's X, Y, and Z. Of course, it may be, the time may be different for schedules and whatnot, but go with me. They put in that 1 hour and they expect a large return. But the process of it is that it's not always guaranteed, and that's part of life and part of the return. So you want to make sure that if you want to win big, you have to put a lot of effort into it over and over and over and over and over. So this is the way that I believe it works, is if you compound the law of large numbers and you win 10% of the time. If you put in an hour one day, or an hour a day for 100 days, now, no matter what, 10 of those days, you will get a return 100-to-1 or 10-to-1 or whatever it might be, right? Your goal is to build that law of large numbers and do things more. And it amplifies the percentage of your success and the ability to do this. I say all this because I see a lot of people, and myself included, all throughout my life, I have wondered, what is going on with my life? Why am I not experiencing that? They tried it once and they won. They hit the jackpot, right? I look at other people who, they put in a lot of work, yes, and they did a lot of things behind the scenes that I didn't see, yes, but I put in a lot of work, and I put in a lot of work behind the scenes, and I did a lot of networking, but I didn't get, I didn't hit it big. I didn't hit the lottery. I see so many people who are experiencing astronomical growth comparatively. And it may be in the gym, it may be with family, it may be that they met their spouse at a younger age, whatever it might have been. It's like, wow. But the law of large numbers is they may have hit on their first day. We're still on day 85. And to make this point even more, think of it as the law of large numbers. They may have hit on their first year. And it's going to take us 10 years before we actually hit. Because if it's 1 in 10, they may have hit on that first try. Awesome. Second try. Awesome. But some of us are in our 10th year or our 9th year and we haven't hit yet. Does that mean we quit? No, that means we go harder because the law of large numbers and the odds are for us, right? The odds will forever be in your favor. But when it gets to that point, that's where a lot of people quit, is they don't experience it the first half, so they stop the last half. It's one of the reasons why basketball players, coaches will always say, like a 40% shooter, they'll miss 6 shots in a row, and the coach will say, keep shooting. You hit 4 out of 10 shots. You just missed 6. If you take 4 more shots, you're bound to hit those 4 shots because they're 40% shooters. That is their average. That is what they do. A lot of people will quit. They'll say, I missed 5 shots. And they're like, no, shoot more. Take those opportunities. Go a little bit harder. I hate it so much because I am literally telling myself this more than anybody. The last few days, I've had really crappy days where I've thought, I'm not doing enough. I could be doing more. What's going on with my life? I've just moved to a new city. I don't want to fail. I'm stressed and isolated in a way. And my brain has just told me, you have to keep going. The only way out is through. You don't have a choice. You've gone this far. You're a 40% shooter. Keep shooting. And my one side of my brain is saying, you're going to miss it. And the other side of my brain is, it doesn't matter if you miss it. Just keep shooting. Because one of these days you will. And it will hit. Now, I called this bad days, right? The episode, the reason why I say bad days is because the law of large numbers impacts this. We all have bad days. That's why I just shared that. We all have bad days. And by using the law of large numbers, you can determine that there are a lot of bad days. Get over it. It happens. You have basketball players who have terrible games. You have football players that have terrible games. You have athletes that have terrible performances and artists that have terrible concerts. It all happens. And if you were to look at if 10% of your year were bad days, like your bottom, if you looked at a percentage and you have your top 90%, like the top 10% that are good days, so 90 to 100%, those are incredible days. And then you've got your bottom 1 to 10%. If you look at that, that's 36 days a year are going to be in that bottom 10% tile. 36 days. That's 3 days a month. So basically, every 10 days, you're going to experience the lowest of the low. Likewise, every 10 days, you're going to experience the top of the top. And it's going to ebb and it's going to flow, but the majority of your life is going to be spent between that 10 to 90%. Or maybe even if you were to kind of work it through into the average, it would be more that 20 to 80%. Where it's not bad, but it's not good, but it's not bad, but it's not good. It's okay, right? We live in the okay. We live in the gray is what I used to say. And you have to get past the thought that you're going to eventually have a life with no bad days. Bad days are going to happen no matter how successful you are. Bad days are going to happen no matter how good things are. Bad things are going to happen no matter what you think about it, no matter what your mentality is about it. Bad things are going to happen. Bad days are going to happen, right? It's the part of life that is unchanging because time is one currency that we all pay. So your body's going to break down. Your looks are going to fade. Your hair is going to fall out. Whatever it might be that you are holding on to, it's going to fade because time is going to decay it. And you may have really good days, but bad days are going to happen. And it's our job to strengthen our ability to push past the bad days and to understand that the good days are going to pass. There's a viral clip, and to use more of TikTok and podcasts and things like this, we've heard it, where there's the round table, the beautiful podcast interview style that they do with the really big actors and actresses. And I believe it was Tom Hanks is like sitting with Shia LaBeouf, and I think Jamie Foxx was there, and they're all sitting around this table talking about stuff. And Tom Hanks says, one of the lessons that I learned is this too shall pass. You think everything is going to end. You think the world is crashing around you. This too shall pass. You think you know it all and you think everything is good. This too shall pass. It's our ability to say, we're not going to allow our heads to be so far up in the clouds that we lose sight of the ground. But we're also not going to bury our heads into the ground so that we can't see that there is a blue sky above us. Life is too short. We are all paying a price of time every single day. It's 2024. It feels like just yesterday was 2022. We literally are passing so quickly through time. Do not waste it. And I know that this podcast was more of a ramble on bad days and the law of large numbers, but the reality of everything is if you want something, and what I am getting at and what I hope I've pinpointed is if you want something, then you have to bet big and you have to bet on yourself. And then you have to follow through. That's going to do it for this conversation. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure that you hit that follow button and share this with somebody. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope you hit that like and subscribe button and share the podcast with somebody who maybe had a bad day recently or maybe just needs to bet a little bit more on themselves because they are a 40% shooter and they've missed 6 shots in a row. This next one may be the one that goes in and wins the game. If you want to follow me on my socials, you can find me on TikTok and X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at Kyle Vaught. That's KYLEV as in Victor ATT. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Threads, it's Kyle_Vaught, V as in Victor ATT. I really appreciate it. There's a lot going on this episode and this week. I wanted to make sure that I got this out, but there's a lot happening and some really cool guests that are going to be on with a lot of really good content coming up. So make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, like I said. And I cannot wait to see you all next time. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.